Hello, my name is Whitney Schertzer, and I will be reading I Am Soinia Sotomayor by Brad something and Christopher something. I am Soinia Sotomayor. I am Soinia Sotomayor. In Spanish, that's yo soy Sonia Sotomayor. Soinia Sotomayor. I was born in New York City, and my family came from Puerto Rico. I learned to speak Spanish before I spoke English. My family called me AJI, which means hot pepper, because I was always jumping around and finding trouble. My mother used to say she learned to walk at 7 months and ran the very same day. Even when my mother or my abuela, my grandmother, dressed me up, clothes would get wrinkled. Ribbons would never stay in my hair. You're already a mess. What should we do with her? There's nothing wrong with her, just too much energy. That page is done. One time I got my head stuck in a bucket while I was trying to hear what my voice sounded like and said, "Sonia, what have you done now?" "Hello in there." I also loved making up games. Just then, like a night with my little brother on my butt. Charge! Crash! "Sonia, what have you done now?" What has she done? One of my favorite places was my abuela's apartment. Entering her home was like going into straight Puerto Rico. Once a month at my abuela's, my mom and aunt would make salsa de fello, a spicy sauce. As they chopped peppers, onions, and tomatoes, I'd sneak eat them right out of the blender. "Sonia, what have you done now?" That's Spanish. "You'll get sick. You can't eat it raw." The grown-ups played lots of music and games too, like dominoes. I have no clue what that says because that is Spanish and I am English. One of my favorite moments was when everybody would go quiet. My abuela would poem to us. She looked so glamorous we'd all memorize as she read one of her favorite Puerto Rico poems by Glitter Bennons. I read the speech bubbles, but one of them is Spanish. This one's Spanish right here, and then that one's English, so I'm going to read this one. To know it, you need to see it and dreams it far from. After to learn to love it, you'll need to leave it. I understood what the poem meant, so I had many dreams. When I was little, I used to imagine myself in the hero of my favorite book series of Nancy Drew Girl Detective. Nancy was a master of doing puzzles. No matter what got in her way, she would figure things out. She lived in a big house and solved crimes with her dad. Since she was a lawyer, he'd give her the best hints. I can't wait to be a detective when I grow up. In my neighborhood, dreams like that rarely came true. There were any detective. Look at me. This is where I grew up, and this is a Bronx, a neighborhood in New York City. Pretty different from Nancy Drew, huh? We didn't live in a fancy house. We lived in a small apartment. My mother was a nurse, so I knew some Puerto Rico nurses. But there was only Puerto Rico doctor, and at the stores, where people shopped, a lot of Puerto Rican workers, but a few managers or owners, even lawyers and detectives. It wasn't my Puerto Rico neighbors didn't work hard. People aren't poor because they are lazy. My mother worked long hours to pay our bills, and sometimes where you live affects the kind of, I don't know what that word is, you have. Opportunities you have. Yeah. If you live in a nice neighborhood like Nancy Drew, you can go to school like this. That looks nice and safe. But if you live in a neighborhood like mine, you get a school that has fewer supplies and isn't as safe. That is definitely isn't nice. Welcome to the Bronx. I don't know what that says. My mom worked extra hours so she could pay to send my brother and me to a respected school where we'd get better education. But even with a good school, my young life was still pretty complicated. This is the nice school and this is their school. And Nancy Drew, I think that's what it's called. This is their school, and in reality, that's their school. When I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with diabetes. That means your body has too much sugar in your blood. You'll be okay, says the doctor, but you'll have to get a shot every day. Something even harder happened later that year. My father died, and it was like an earthquake in my life. My world started to change and felt scary. One of the ways I found comfort was doing what you're doing right now, reading. I love books. Books gave me a rocket ship. Not only around the world, but through the world. And that book I learned was my name, a version of Sophia, meaning wisdom. This book that a doctor lent to me was my favorite. It was filled with stories of Greek gods and other heroes. That's the doctor's office. And that's her reading books. Sorry, I just wanted to count the pages because there's some paragraphs in here. Those days were hard for my mom. She had to pay for 2 kids all by herself, but it didn't slow her down. She ordered us a full set of Electropedia by Ranica when it was arrived. It was like early Christmas. Each book was so heavy. It was like we lived in a library. The books are expensive too. My mom struggled to make the payments. But with the Exopedia, the world explained before me in 1,000 new directions. There's that picture. I didn't want to read all this speech bubbles. But it's talking about the books, like 24 volumes in our house on every topic. And then Spanish. And then you've got to get your education. That's what the mom said. There was another reason why my world continued to change. My teachers. Every teacher was the power of inspiring us kids. This one I realized to love and complete and win. The first time I got a grade on my report card, it made the promise to myself. I would add more A each time. I would promise to myself I would add one more A each time with grades like that. I was on my way to becoming a detective. She overcame her dream, even though she had a challenging life. She'd stick up to bullies for her brother. Did that mean everything was suddenly easy? Not in my neighborhood where we lived. If you don't lock up your bike, usually it got stolen. If you walk down the wrong alley, someone might try and beat you up. Once I found my little brother stranded by bullies, so I walked over to protect him. You're gonna beat him up. You've got to beat me up too. My sister was as tough as nails. That didn't mean I couldn't be hurt. One day I was reading a book about debates. It said that people who were debates like me could be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or even a teacher. But because of my diabetes, if I couldn't be a police officer, I couldn't be a detective, which meant I couldn't be like Nancy Drew. Sometimes it doesn't work that easy. I was determined, but I wasn't defeated. I quickly found a new role on a model TV show. He was a lawyer named Perry Mason. He used his smarts in the courtroom to figure out the truth behind each crime. Perry Mason was definitely the hero to show, but I was more fantastic by a different creature. Oh, character, I thought it said creature. The judge. Every episode, no matter what Perry Mason was trying to do, it was the judge who made the final decision. It was hard to understand every detail, but I could tell that each case was like a good puzzle I completed, a game with its own rules. From there, I knew I could be a great lawyer, even like that judge. Oh, yeah. This is her watching Perry Mason. Yeah. This is her. That's the judge. That one right there is the judge, and that is opening her eyes. Do you see? Almost over. What was more than 13 minutes long. Sorry, guys, for making it too long. Here, I'll read a little faster. To be a judge, I had to learn to speak in front of others. My first practice session was in a church doing a Bible reading. In high school, I joined Fornesses, which trains you in public speaking and a debate. I won first prize in speaking contest, but I learned that one of the most important parts of making a good argument is being a good listener. My talk was about how to have a responsibility to look out for each other. Yet, perhaps the best thing I learned from Forces came from one of the student coaches. A counselor at school had taught me to apply to a local college, but the coach told me I could go farther. It sounded impossible, but I didn't think kids from South Bronx could go fancy roles to the Princeton. I was valedictorian in my high school class, but would they accept me? But like my abuela's poem said, to get what you want, you must dream it. I got in. I'm going to be Princeton. Yay! It's a lot of words in these pages, and it's a long book. Princeton seemed like a different planet. Most of the kids came here, wealthy neighborhoods and fancy schools. There used to be skating trips, tennis lessons, and vacations in Europe. I'd barley for left the barn. I don't know. That first week of college, I couldn't sleep because I heard a cricket in my room. In New York, we didn't have trees outside in our windows. Even though I got really homesick again, and I found books to make me feel better. And here in the Fire and Stone Library, I saw just how to knowledge there was in the world. During my time in Princeton, it so well invited me into an honor of society that recognizes top students. The invitation was fake jewelry scam. I'd never heard of any awards they gave in there, including me in the president. Yeah, that was like to people, athletes or astronauts are heroes. To me, the best action hero lawyer was a lawyer. So, author guardian, I went to Yale Law, to the law school and country. I didn't know she went to the law school. During my third year in law school, I walked by a meeting that was offering free snacks. I was a bit hungry, so I stepped inside, stumbling with a presidential congress that would change my life. To the end. Here, I'll go with this now. Inspired by my old dreams, I became an assistant dictator. Yeah, that doesn't really. It's just like a fact about something. It didn't stop me from doing my job. I just had the confidence and the jury to agree with me. I also understood that people wouldn't get along. It's usually because they can't imagine how someone else is feeling. From there, I had a few different jobs as a lawyer until one day I heard that the U.S. District in Count and Mahan was looking for my boss. So determined, he put a plaque on my desk and made sure I had no other work to get it up. That was my dream, wasn't it? Of course it was coming true. I became the city's first Hispanic federal judge. It is the youngest as well. Now my job was to make sure the case followed laws correctly. During my first trial, I was nervous. My knees were actually knocking. Soon I was concerned for the biggest legislative job of being a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. That's the court where most important cases decided. The justices are ones who made the decisions. I was worried that job would change my life, but a friend told me. It made me think about the South Bronx. It made me think that there were no Hispanic female lawyers to follow in the Princeton Yale. The district Illinois office or even a judge that made me think about people I could inspire. Alright, these are the last couple pages. I needed to show them it was possible. On October 8th, 2009, at 55 years old, I was sworn in the first Hispanic, third female justice to ever Supreme Court in the United States. Those are just like them talking to each other. It's like weird conversations. In my life, I was the AJI, the hot pepper, who no one slowed down, became where I was because of poor, ran at some people who didn't think to go far. But there were others who helped my dreams come to life. They gave me opportunities and remind me to keep going. Those are the people you need to listen to. Pay attention and the ones to believe in you. The more you learn, the farther you'll go. Education is a rocket ship. It can take you anywhere, but no matter how high you fly, never forget where you started. Whether it is in English, Spanish, or any other language, our dreams are often the same. A loving family, kind friends, a safe place to call home, a chance to reach our potential. The outside of your window is a staring point, but there's no such matter behind that. Read, study, and do people no matter where you're born. There's no limit that you can accomplish. I'm Soinia Sotomayor. I'm proof that your opportunity comes to justice. So remember that no one success alone. Soinia Sotomayor. Pretty sure she's still alive. This is her right now. And this is her in the book. And then this is her with her brother and mother being sworn as in Justice Supreme Court. I'm making a video.
It's hot downstairs. You should open that up down there.
So yeah, thank you for listening to Soinia. I am Soinia Sotomayor. You should go read this book and start the video over, and you can read it with me. Thanks. Bye.